Want me to write?
Do a little sound test.
Testing, 1, 2. Testing, 1, 2, 1, 2. Hey, it's Lee here. I'm going to show you a little piecing variation on this t-shirt that comes in our Anytime set. It has this cool shoulder slope to the front already, and so we're going to add in an extra little piece here down the front where we could play with different fabrics. You could do a woven. Look, Johnny brought a picture for me that I drew. It's this little inverted V situation radiating down from the neckline. It's just a shape that I happen to like, and it's pretty easy. You could do different curves and things like that as well with this system of how we're going to alter this pattern. The first thing I did was find a mark kind of halfway from the neck to the center mark of the t-shirt. From the shoulder seam to the center line, just about halfway between, and then I found a point at an angle down on the hem and just marked that nice straight line with my ruler. This shirt pattern does not have a center line, and so I just kind of found the center and drew it on just so you could see it a little easier. In just a second, we're also going to use that as a nice way to create a crease so that we can get a mirror image. So we're going to fold along that line, just like that. And then we're going to use a tracing wheel to make a nice mirror image. And there's a minute here where I'm talking about the different names of this thing. It is a tracing wheel. It's one that has a short, it has really spiky bits on it, so that when you roll across that line, it transfers to the back of the paper. And that's a really easy way then that when you open it up, you'll have a mirror image of the first line that you drew. So you can kind of see it really easy on the back of the paper, and then flip it over and you can see the dots, and then you draw it. And so that's how we get a really nice line there on that side. Now, I did use the original pattern that I printed off. If you want to keep this original as it is, then you could always trace this onto some brown paper, just so then you have a copy that then you can cut apart and do things with.
So any new lines that we've cut, we now have to add in seam allowance. So here I'm showing how I tape in paper, and then I'm going to add that seam allowance. It's going to be a 1/4 inch seam allowance on all of this. Since I'm using a serger, that's all I need to add in for that. So after making this once, I know I want to add in a little bit to the sleeve. It's a little tight on me, so I'm going to add 1 inch on this. Since it's a rectangle, it's pretty easy to just add it along one side. Now, however, whenever you add in 1 inch, I have to get that inch added to the shoulder seam as well, just to split the difference. So it's not 1 inch on one side. I'm going to add a 1/2 inch to each side of that shoulder seam where it hits the sleeve. So in these next few clips, there's going to be lots of taping and things happening. First, I'm going to work on the sleeve. Again, I'm just going to tape on paper. I'll use just clear tape here, and then add in that 1 inch of ease that I need for that sleeve. Make it nice and straight. I use the gridded ruler a lot for all of these kinds of things. So that's the sleeve. That one's pretty easy. And now what's going to happen is that I have a front and a back shoulder seam, and I'm going to add a 1/2 inch to each one where it hits the sleeve. However, I really like the way it fits at the neck, so I'm not going to add anything there. So it's going to taper from a 1/2 inch. I'm splitting the inch difference on each sleeve, front and back, and it will go down to 0 at the neckline. So you can see that's a little bit of an angled piece that I added. Once I taped it, again, here I'm working on the back, so you can see it a little bit slower. This is the 2 shoulder seams at the back. And so I'll add a 1/2 inch at the sleeve side of that shoulder, and it will go to 0 at the neck. Now, seam allowance is already added in here, so I don't need to add any seam allowance since it is already built into the pattern. These are not new cuts like we made on the front of the garment, so we don't have to add in seam allowance. We're just adding in that ease that we added to the sleeve. So anytime you start altering patterns, there's a lot of this taping and adding new lines and things like that. But this is a really good project to start on if it's the first time you've ever done anything like this. All the lines are fairly straight. We're not adding in tons of different new things to it. So it's a really good place to start if you've never done it before. Yeah, working on the last sleeve, I think, there. And here's what it looks all finished and ready to sew. And hope you guys try it and have fun.